From our spot at the top of the clock tower, the girl observed the growth of her familiar. Flat snark. The savior of the discarded. It was a vulgar fairy tale monster who provided those abandoned by fate with a glimmer of hope before snatching it away. Wow. Alice had it under control, but she was still keen to keep the snark from expressing its bad habits. After completing a lap around the park that had now reached the size of an entire town, the rabbit made its situation report.
そう、外を目指しているの。
It seemed Aoko was prioritizing the safety of the boy. Even if it resulted in wasting an entire day, choosing to not capitulate on that decision was very much like her.
青子のことだから、時計台ごと私を焼き払いに来るかと思ったけど。
The bluebird cheeped in response. Was it denying its master's portrait of Aoko? Or agreeing that it was Aoko's style to do exactly that? An outsider might interpret its interjections either way.
退屈？
The rabbit jumped at being addressed so unexpectedly. It chirped and flapped its wings like a flustered servant frantic to say otherwise.
珍しく気があったわね。いいわ。せっかくのゲームだし、もう少しだけ盛り上げましょう。
Calmly, she pulled out a small object from her pocket. It was a dark gray Easter egg, and emanating from inside it was the ticking of a clock. The rabbit knew it to be a ploy kickshot with a bad attitude for exceeding flat snarks, known to be among the best in one-on-one situations.
いってらっしゃい。称える時間は20分に設定したわ。いつも通り控えめに壊れてきて。
And together with the vicious bread, the egg filled with praise disappeared. I can die peacefully now. Suddenly, a strong wind swept through the park. The words, "I could have killed them all by myself," floated through the air. It was the disappointment of something enormous that was both visible yet overlooked. The moon. Aoko and Soujuurou continued their dash towards the boundary separating the park from outside. The Kiryu horde that stood in their way had reduced in number. The iron fence that separated the two from the outside world was just over 300 yards away. Fortunately, there were no particularly large buildings barring their path. If the Ferris wheel had stood in their way, that would have spelled the end, but thankfully it had yet to reach its full strength. The only things that appeared before there were weak oddities that could easily be handled by Aoko's simple magecraft.
これならなんとか。
She would have said make it a defense, if our lungs would only allow it. Since Aoko was utilizing the ample mana filling the park, her tank of magical energy was nearly full. Coupled with the fact that the condition of her body's secrets was steadily improving to the extent that she would be able to unleash at least one all-out onslaught. Egg. Until, above her field of vision, something unusual was happening. It was locked in Soujuurou, hovering 10 feet above him over to one side.
しずきくん、ちょっと。
ああ、さっきからついてきてる。
Soujuurou had seemingly noticed it before Aoko, hence his previous awkward glances towards the sky. In truth, it would only have been stranger for him not to notice that the thing was practically glued to him. In terms of the size, the floating object measured about 3 feet in diameter. Tiles covered its exterior, about which a multitude of spinning lights danced about.
卵かな。
Soujuurou asked, not really sure what to call it.
卵？ 卵って言ったら割れる卵。
Her bullets bounced up like it was made of rubber. That trait, the ability to deflect all outside interference, confirmed to Aoko this thing was undoubtedly a ploy kicksha.
やっぱり外からのルールじゃ壊れないか。しずきくん、あれから絶対に目をそらさないで。
Oh, and if you have a shotgun, pull it out and shoot at it.
いい。何があっても見続けること。視界の隅に入れとくだけでいいから。
ああ
Oh wait, it won't work actually. Aoko picked up her pace as she barked orders. The Eggman, who sat on the wall, he would crack just as the tail spoke. Off. Nothing anyone could do, or say what caused him to fall. But the moment he stopped looking, he would tumble down and break into pieces.
いわく、王様の軍隊でも元に戻せない数の破片。
It was the Mother Goose poem Humpty Dumpty. If Soujuurou was its target, then the moment he averted his gaze, it would tumble and explode.
まあ、爆発するかどうかは知らないけど。
Either way, it was going to scatter something troublesome when it fell. Its oval-shaped keyhole adorning the front, and writing inscribed upon it, they all made her anxious. If it was an egg, that meant it was going to hatch at some point. Even if he continued to stare, once the time came for whatever was inside to come out, they would have even less ability to conserve their energy.
青崎、早すぎないか。あまり全力で走ると。
後のことは考えないで。いいからしずきくんは卵だけに集中して。
At this critical juncture, the breadman stepped out to join the egg and block their path. Why do you have to smell so good?
邪魔！
Yeah, bake him! Bake this motherfuckers! The breadmen were marching forward in a grand battalion. At their level of firepower, Aoko should have easily mowed them down. However...
肩焼きかこの！
If Snap failed to do the job, that meant it was time for her to put her crest to use. Draw, a firm lead triggered bullet encased in a full wind jacket. If her previous shots were the equivalent of a machine gun volley, then this was her artillery shot. Well, that grass bread that had absorbed her snap well, then scattered into thousands of tiny pieces at her draw's torrent. Good. It worked.
うわ
She can do that? Of course, the destruction did not end with just a bread man. Silly bricks flying, the previously paved road was now bare. The nearby stall had turned into a skeleton of steel beams. It was a spectacle that made Soujuurou question which force the well-bred men Aoko's ability to lay waste to things would obstruct their path more.
ちょっとなんで距離取るのよそこ。そばにいないと危ないじゃない。
Well, I don't know. I think it's more safe to be with the delicious bread.
ほら、もっとこっち。言っとくけど、あんたがあいつらに囲まれちゃったらアウトよ。私、人質とか意味ないタイプだし、そもそも区別して撃つとかそういうのできないし。
This made a lot of sense to Soujuurou. He had not fully appreciated the part about hostages, but he got the gist of it.
つまり今はどこであろうと危険なのか。
Yeah.
あんたね。
Offended though she was by his typical naive response, she could not help but be impressed. Soujuurou was a straight arrow through and through. His eyes stayed firmly focused at the egg overhead, even amidst the chaos of the melee unfolding before him.
その分なら安心か。物分かりは悪いけど、一度言われたことはきっちり守るあたり、あなたのいいところよね。
そんなことより青崎、俺の気のせいならいいんだけど、さっきのパン硬くなかったか？
まあね、あいつら少しずつ強くなってきてるわ。大量生産が軌道に乗ったんで、今度はクオリティアップをテーマにしたのかも。しずきくんでもお察しの通り、ここからは手強くなっていく一方よ。あのパンたちでさえ個体差が出てきたみたいだし。
They brought the legendary Gordon Ramsay into this.
考えたくないけど、
Unfortunate.
そのうちジャム塗ったりレタス乗っけたり、果ては合体したりして。
Though she was joking, her eyes were dead serious. I do wonder, wait, we're gonna see if it's gonna happen, the merging thing. Oh boy, Soujuurou shuddered at the thought of the situation growing even more dire.
じゃあそのうちミラーハウスの人形ぐらいに怖くなるのか、あいつら。
間違いなくね。そこまでレアなパンになったら、私も自分だけで手一杯になる。ところでしずきくん、ああいうのと喧嘩できる
Soujuurou shook his head, a look of complete immersion upon his face. I thought my little guy's gonna. Oh, he's gonna jump down now. He's gonna go. I'll go. Go, my boy. Go. The little baby's waiting for you.
でしょ？なら急ぎましょう。いろいろ余裕ないんだから。
Aoko took a quick, deep breath and began to sprint once again. Far in the distance through the fog, the iron fence waited 300 paces away. As long as nothing happened, they would make it there in one piece. Soujuurou followed after Aoko, holding on to that all too convenient hope. But hope was having ever fleeting. It lasted not even 300 yards. The edge of the amusement park may well have been the edge of the world. Thousands of undulating horizons could be seen, crowding the sky like a giant cloud or a thick curtain, or perhaps groaning lips. It was the end of the road, the outer limit of an outrageous and fantastical realm. And yet, Aoko found it to be much like the last page of an enormous picture book. The sight turned her mind blank. Well, this is about as bad as it gets, she thought. The snark, this island of despair, at least brought Aoko to her knees as she stared at the swelling border. The park indeed had an end. Even now, as Aoko and Soujuurou had expected it to be, a fence divided the amusement park from the residential area neighboring it. It had both doubled in height and had been made sturdier, another hurdle she had foreseen before even laying eyes on it. Expecting it to have been snarkified, Aoko had come prepared to demolish an obstacle or two. But this construction before her went far beyond a mere wall. It was an ocean that separated the underworld from the immortal one. The iron fence was like restless, surging sea. One or two walls could easily be toppled. Even 10 or 20 could be dealt with one way or another. Between the power left in her body and that which filled the park, putting on a brave front was within her power. She could fully mobilize her circuits and her crest to the point of burnout in a last-ditch effort, like some reenactment of the parting of the Red Sea.
でもそれで終わり。
Even if a path could be opened, she would not have the energy left to walk it. And it was obvious what would become of her afterward. The residents would hardly forgive her for wreaking such havoc around their park. Again, strong to honey, they would swarm the helpless girl and tear her to pieces. Despondent and exhausted, she felt the faint sting of remorse. Escaping the park. Looking back on how they had gotten here, Aoko recognized that her choices had been her undoing. Under the golden full moon, beams of steel bent and merged like wire-frame sculptures. It was only a matter of time before the amusement park itself became one colossal monster. The horde of familiars scattered in the plaza where Alice was had formed an impenetrable blockade around her. Just above the head of the boy beside her, the whispering egg, coat scratched empty, continued to shuffle what appeared on its surface.
Aozaki!
Shizuki-kun.
The boy's voice snapped Aoko out of her trance, if only for a moment. The stark reality of the situation quickly dawned on the novice mage. The sheer hopelessness of it all, as it ripped out and snatched away any will she had to resist.
ゲートに行こう。ここはどうしようもないけど、入り口ならもうちょっとマシだろ。フラットスナークだっけ？こいつにもルールがあるって言ったじゃないか。なら、これは役割の問題だ。初めから鉄柵は通れない壁だけど、ゲートなら出入り口として機能しているかもしれない。
Soujuro had not given in to panic. Aoko found herself honestly admiring Soujurou's ability to analyze Snark's characteristics, given the circumstances. Now calm, she stilled her resolve.
そうね。確かに門はあると思う。けど、たどり着くのは難しいわ。一番弱かった焼きたてパンですら、今はもうあれだもの。広場や入り口には、もっと上等なのがたむろしてるだろうし、門だって、あの観覧車以上の怪物かもしれない。確か、大きなキッツィちゃんだったでしょ、正門って。
青崎はゲートには行かないのか。
まあね。それよりこっちの方が現実的だし。
Aoko took another glance at the undulating iron fences. It was surely to achieve their goal of making it out alive. In that case, she decided to prioritize the promise she had made.
今からこの鉄柵を壊すから、あなたはそこから外に出て。それで、私の役割はおしまいよ。
Though her words were few, her tone told the whole story. She was telling him to escape by himself.
信じられない。こんなの、青崎だけじゃ壊せないだろ。
私だけならね。でも、今はこの遊園地が味方してる。燃料がこれだけあるんだから、私は重心になるだけでいいんだし。一発でかいのお見舞いしてやるわ。ま、それでも一回が限度だから、穴を開けたら、あんたには全力で走り抜けてもらうしかないけど。
She would carve a path through this iron sea of fences. Gambling on one final effort, a great incantation to launch a massive projectile that pushed her limits to the extreme. As an outsider, Soujuurou could not even begin to imagine just how much of a burden this would be for her. All he could imagine was a hazy vision of Aoko being left behind in this park. What would happen to her? Would that girl in black come to save her? Cruel as it was to imagine, he knew she would not. After Aoko had exhausted her very best in order to save him, that girl would not stay her hand. The only way Alice would let Aoko off the hook was if Aoko killed Soujuurou as payment. And so...
20メートルぐらい離れてて。準備に手間取るけど、その卵の表面が茹で上がるまでには終わらせるから。
It went without saying that this was the only path.
待ってくれ。俺を逃がすって言うけど、それに意味はあるのか。 青崎。
ないけど、外に出られたところでアリスから逃げ切れるとは思えないし。けどこれぐらいは最後の意地よ。守るって言ったんだから、できるところまでやらないと。
Surprised by her seemingly moral stance, Soujuurou saw Aoko in a new light. Ah, but of course. Soujuurou realized that she was not fighting for his sake, but for the sake of her pride.
うん、そうだったな。けどそれなら俺だけ逃がすのはらしくないぞ。
何よ、いいから離れてて。
For some reason, Aoko took a step away from him. She was recalling how an hour ago he had gotten the better of her.
青崎、まだ意地を張れるんなら他のことをやろう。このお化けみたいな鉄柵を壊せるなら他に壊すべきものがあるはずだ。
ないわよ。悪いけど私は目に見えるものしか壊せないの。最後まで形のない希望にすがるとか考えるのも寒気がする。いい？今はフラットスナークなんかよりこの壁を壊してあんたを足抜けさせるのが私の現実。私に負える最大限の責任って。
逃げるのか。
Aoko was just about to turn her back on him and Soujuurou clutched her hand. His words caused something inside of her to boil with rage. It was as though someone had set her heart on fire. The surprise that pricked open her true feelings and the disappointment she felt towards herself taught her frozen limbs.
誰が逃げるのはそっちで逃がしてあげるのはこっちだって言うのよ。甘く見ないで。いざとなったら遊園地ごと爆破してみせるわ。
そうか。ならここで俺を逃がすのは無駄だな。その気迫は本命のために取っておこう。それまでは俺も手伝うから。
は？手伝う？それこそ無駄な気遣いよ。あったまきた。いいから逃げろバカ。だいたい走り詰めで息も絶え絶えなやつなんか使えないわよ。
そりゃいい加減ヘトヘトだけど、そういう青崎なんか疲れ以上に傷の方が傷んでるだろ。
Not to mention the injury to her back that Aoko had nearly forgotten about. Even now, she couldn't ignore the pain that the automaton had inflicted on her spine. With Iron Will, she do manage to push it out of her mind. Mostly.
ほら、魔術とか抜きにすればまだ俺の方がマシじゃないか。入り口までおぶっていくことぐらいならなんとか。
できないことは口にしないで。もういいから言って。慣れているもの、私は。でもあなたは違う。こういうの初めてでしょ。だからいいの。
The fact that they were a team. The fact that she would still have to kill him after all of this. None of the irony was lost on her as she said these words. I guess none of it mattered anymore. Still, Soujuurou didn't let go of her hand. He gripped it even harder. His expression was the same as ever. Aoko frowned, trying to figure out if he was upset with her.
確かにこういうのは初めてだ。けど山じゃ危険な目ぐらい合ってる。鹿に襲われたことだってあるんだぞ、俺は。
It can be dangerous, so. As a city girl, she had no idea what it meant to be attacked by a deer, but his determination was apparent enough. True. Looking back on it now, he had maintained his composure through it all. A normal person would barely be able to talk through such panic. Perhaps growing up deep in the mountains, far from civilization, had taught him how to stay calm in the face of so much.
だから信じてくれ。少しでいいから。
He spoke his plain, unadulterated feelings, my boy, and released his hand. There was no lie in him. In fact, he was too honest. So much so that she found it hard to believe him. Soujuurou had no reason to go that far. As it stood, Aoko had no future. After confessing this and telling him to escape, why did this boy still offer to help a person like her?
わからない。どうしてそこまでするの？私に付き合えばあなたは死ぬのよ。これが最後だからちゃんと考えてよね。あなたはここで逃げるべきよ。
それはわかるよ。でも行かない。
Soujuurou answered immediately, realizing that Aoko was looking for his reason. This level of insight in Soujuurou demanded a round of applause.
そうすると青崎が死んでしまいそうだ。
His words were as irrational as always.
だからどうしてそこまでするのよあんたは。
She was yelling out of frustration. After thinking for a moment, Soujuurou replied.
そりゃ君が好きだからだろ。
Simple and to the point. His priest seemed to ask why she would even question him. So I'll come back over here. I actually need you. I'm addicted to you. I love you. There was a pause. No more than 2 seconds. I need help. His surprise attack had stopped Aoko in her tracks. Alice was not the only one who had an ace up her sleeve. That line reached deeper even than Flat Snark could ever hope to. All Aoko could respond with was an expression of pure shock. It was a simple, stubborn reason. The strongest kind of nerd. Soujuurou Shizuki was indeed incomprehensible. To be able to work unconditionally with someone who was trying to kill him. But she felt as though she do finally grasp a sliver of his true nature. Unless it's gotta be a misunderstanding once again. The Bimaro and the other's assessment of him was correct, as vexing as it was to her to admit.
バカね。私はあなたのこと嫌いなのに。
He laughed at her sour grumbling. At this point, he was used to her insults. Their clash of wills ended here. Aoka's blood ran hot from her blazing heart. If he was going to make a face like that, all she could do was try to think of a way to get them both home.
私だって逃げっぱなしは性に合わないし。いいわよ。最後まで粘ってみる。それにしずきくんが付き合ってくれるなら、何かの役には立つでしょ。
Her tone had lightened. There was still hesitation in her eyes. It was only natural. Aoko had not even a clue with how to begin to fight the Snark. If only she had been just a bit more skilled. Or had trained just a bit more. There might have been some way to look for it.
我ながら情けない。せめて正体を暴く手がかりでもあればいいんだけど。
Without realizing, she let her apprehension show. Whining was pointless. She would just have to figure it out by herself. But...
なんだ正体さえ分かればいいのか？
え？
Aoko gave him a look, as if to ask what that was supposed to mean.
いや、だからおかしなものはどれかってことだろ。
Soujuurou also made a face that suggested she should have brought it up sooner.
わかるのあんた。
多分。いや、結構前から気になっていたんだけど。
Soujuurou whispered in her ear quietly, so as not to be overheard.
あ？
It was certainly unexpected. But then again, equally obvious. After he explained the mistake, she knew right away that he was correct. At least she had an inkling of Flight Stark's original form. Namely... Yeah? I'll fine, keep your secrets. Until the time for it will come. He strategized for 10 minutes. After deliberation regarding the Snark's true form and figuring a plan of attack, did you exchange nods in acceptance of their roles?
それじゃあここからは別行動ね。でもミラーハウスの時みたいなのは勘弁してよ。この作戦の肝はあなたなんだから。開始1分でドジったら本当に打つ手なしだからね。
Oh no. Now she jabbed him for his previous failure as a decoy. Her ways was bright. Aoko's original vigor had returned to her at Soujuurou's discovery of the truth. Meanwhile, Soujuurou was also getting serious in his own way. He took Aoko's warning to heart.
ならいいけど。いい？さっきと立場は反対よ。失敗したら死ぬのは私じゃなくてそっち。もうフォローに回れないからできるだけ慎重にね。
分かってる。今更ながらやっぱりさっき逃がしてもらえばよかったと思うぐらい慎重だ。
Soujuurou nodded, telling her to leave it to him, though he made it sound like he was holding a grudge. It seemed to him that to be the only way of showing her his resolve. Aoko let out a second defeat. Once more, she couldn't figure him out.
ほんと大バカなんだか大物なんだか。でも任せた。期待してるわ、しずきくん。
She had wanted to see that she believed in him, but apparently that was too embarrassing for her. Aoko turned away from Soujuurou and began to run. She had begun to think that maybe this change of pace was not so bad after all. And so ended that intermission. The young cast were handed their new lines. But what of the climax? At long last, this night of witches had entered its climax. Yay!
別行動？あの二人が？
She was filled with foreboding at the Robin's report. Apparently, they had gone in opposite directions. The park's residents had set off after the boy witness, and it would take them mere minutes to capture him, so the bird said.
どういうこと？追いかけているのは本当に彼？青子？
The robin flapped its wings, chirping away any doubt. It had seen them with its own two eyes. Aoko was heading for the plaza, and the cocky brat was making a run for the roller coaster.
青子が彼を見捨てた？ですって？そんな簡単なことならいいけど。ダンプティは彼に張り付いているの？
The robin nodded enthusiastically. It didn't know about the airbirds, but with its superior night vision, it had seen that sucker clearly because he had moved to a high point.
ダンプティはなんて？最後まで歌わせろ。こんな褒め殺したい間抜けはまたとない。ですって。
Scratchy Dumpty was a ticking time bomb that would drop and detonate the moment its target diverted its gaze. That is, as long as his target continued to observe him. In a way, he was a gentlemanly ploy kickshot, though Alice wished she would forego such niceties when in battle.
そうね。視線を切らないだけではダンプティからは逃げられない。表面の詩が完成すれば扉が開く。彼がどこまで逃げようと、あと少しでダンプティがしまってくれるわ。
Until the park, or rather the Snark, was destroyed, Soujuurou would not be able to escape, which meant the larger concern was Aoko. Aoko had promised to protect the boy, which begged the question, where was she running to?
ここにいる限り、青子の動向はつかめない。
Alice looked out over the park, ignoring the robin's attempt to gather attention with his plumage. That Snark had nearly reached its full size. Fine pirate. It was a different breed of beast compared to the other cheap ploys. There, it was one of her three most irreplaceable and precious familiars.
そうね。任せたわスナーク。青子が諦めない以上、あなたも手は抜かないで。
Alice remained where she was, with the same historical merit as the troll under the bridge and the poison-clawed reptile. Snark was one of Alice's ultimate ploys. She was placing her trust in its reputation and ability.
でも忘れないで。これはゲームよ。勝敗がついたのなら、私のところに帰ってきて。
The drifting fog ignored its master's words. It was the one thing that Alice had misread. Snark was the king, even among the other ploys of terrible, vulgar antics. Dead to the defeated, gruesome tragedy to the vanquished. Pleasure, they found no pleasure unless it brought about the total ruination of life and wealth. The fog bellowed like wicked laughter. After all, only a king had the right to decide the fate of the vanquished, and the Tsar's greed could not be contained. Thus, it had even the slightest intent to play fair, despite its master's orders. Well, fuck is you then? Our 100 feet high. One careful step at a time, the figure made its way gingerly up the track, stretching into the heart of the amusement park. Poor unfortunate soul. He stayed his beating chest and the pounding of his breath. Even tiny moments were an obstacle to his progress. Amazingly, the one making his pale-faced advance higher and higher was Soujuurou Shizuki. Far below, he saw a horde of bread creatures had congregated by the roller coaster platform. Those motherfuckers. As he bustled this way and that, their numbers continued to increase by the minute, seemingly cheering on Soujuurou with raised arms as he made his ascent. Or cheered him more like beckoning him to calm down. No.
助かった。あれ、高いところは苦手なんだ。
Of course, Soujuurou neither did. What? Soujuurou neither did Soujuurou. But his current state was the lesser of two evils. The only thing that followed him now was the floating egg. After heaving a huge sag, Soujuurou bent forward a bit and climbed the track that reached to the heavens. 150 feet now. If this were a skyscraper, he would be on the 16th floor. Boy. A strong gust of wind whipped through his hair. Humans had an instinctual fear of heights. In particular, a place like this, which called forth visions of falling to one's death, would cause a person's knees to tremble against their will. It was an instinct that forewarned death, urging its master to return to the safety of the ground. It was a reasonable reaction. Climbing the roller coaster tracks went beyond funny stories and into the realm of fantasy. The strong winds and change in air pressure were a hindrance. His instincts screamed at him to stop, causing his limbs to go numb, his muscles to go limp, and his mind to race. Even if he had been tied to a lifeline, a mere 15 feet of climbing would still have caused his thoughts to freeze out of sheer terror. And it would only get worse from here, exponentially so. Every foot forward increased the load on both his mind and his body by an hour degree.
よし、頂上まであと少し。
The burden on his mind notwithstanding, He carefully measured the toll on his body with every step. His legs, which had carried him running this far, threatened to buckle the moment he let down his guard. This fatigue was likely why Aoko had stressed that Soujurou's role was more dangerous than hers.
待てよ。逆を言うと、疲れてなければなんとかなると思ってたんだよな、青崎は。
Soujuro laughed as he stared at the floating egg. He reflected on the course of events that had led to this absurd situation. Not even 10 minutes ago, they had been engaged in conversation.
じゃあ次ね。正体が分かった以上、あとはどう壊すかを話し合いましょう。
Soujuro felt a shudder travel down his spine at Aoko's smug grin. In hindsight, Aoko had been more than happy at this point to make him do something absurd.
どう壊すかって、それなら。
Soujuro had spoken up, figuring that what he was about to see was silly, especially considering Aoko had the magecraft to tear clean through the fence. Furthermore, up until now, he had not once offered his insight as to the true form of Flat Snark only due to his belief that there was nothing they could have done about it, even if they were the wiser. But that had changed. For Aoko, the impossible was quite literally within her grasp.
そうでもないわ。私の目算だと、あと50メートル分、ギリギリで届かない。
Despair filled Soujurou's eyes. Aoko lifted a hand to her long hair and, with the magical energy in her fingertip, cut a clean tuft from her head.
足りない分は努力と根性ってね。あなたはできるだけ高いところまで逃げて。頃合いを見て合図を出すから。そうしたらこれを空に放ってくれる？しずきくんの役目はそれだけでいいから。
But based on where Aoko pointed her gaze, she did not really mean to leave it up to Soujuro to pick the highest place she could find. Aoko was staring conspicuously at one of the amusement park's two main attractions, the roller coaster.
つまり、青崎とは別行動をとって、あの怪物たちに追われながら、高いところに逃げ込めと。
そういうこと。ほら、あのうねうね動き出してるコースターのレールとか、よくない？
There were two demons in this park. Her smile made even Soujuro want to respond that it was far from perfect.
疑いたくはないんだが、本当はあの子とグルで俺を遠回しに殺そうとしてるんじゃないか。
あら、私に殺されるのならいいんでしょ？
人の出現を悪用するのは良くないと思う。
Soujuro hung his head. This was not sane. If he did this, she said, he would die from exhaustion before Kitsu even had a chance to eat him.
私だって鬼じゃないわ。ほら、こっち向いて。
No.
おまじないかけてあげる。
No. It was the lightest of touches. Close enough for their breath and skin to come in contact. Zaki, he finished with husband's voice, hushed voice. For one of them, this was a rather mundane magecraft. For the other, it was a head-spinning sneak attack of intimacy.
軽く、弱く、うまく、早く。チクタクチクタク、急げや急げ。
Words that cannot be produced by a normal larynx, carrying a peculiar weight to them, reverberated against his eardrums. Hey, you finally know the words. If words were given colors, this would have been the color of her name. Blue. Soujurou's exhausted body and burning blood gently cooled.
飛ぶ、泳ぐ、駆け抜ける。 チクタクチクタク汽笛を鳴らせ。星はいつでも北の空、どこまでもいつまでも。
In reality, it took but a few seconds. But the sudden contact had felt a little longer until it ended.
よし、暗示成功。成功したはず。ここまで手応えがあったの初めてだし、アリスの小言もたまには役に立つじゃない。
I will marry Aoko to the sight of very confused Soujuurou. Aren't they cute? After he asked what the heck had occurred, she responded.
簡単な暗示よ。一時的に恐怖心を消しておいたから、高いところに登っても平気なはず。あの手の作業で一番足を引っ張るのは同様でしょ。恐怖も何も感じなければ、地上何メートルだろうと平均台とそう変わらないってわけ。
Oh! You seem to get it. It actually all sounded like Greek to Soujuurou, but he accepted it as an explanation of her strange actions. And now fearless you can look down the hole with this.
やっと
From
着いた。
who knows how many meters or even a kilometer or two. You do arrive at the summit of the track. At a height of nearly 200 feet. Soujuurou had a bird's eye view of the entire amusement park. He was able to spot Aoko's figure right away. In the plaza not so far from here, she seemed to be occupied with something conspicuous. Her surroundings lay still. The breadmen were still busy trying to figure out how to reach Soujuurou by trial and error from the roller coaster's entrance. They had over 300 feet of distance to cover.
汗をかくはずだ。こんなに移動したのか。
The strong winter gales quickly dried the sweat on his brow, but he was drenched underneath his shirt. This much sweat was worth at least a half-mile run, not to mention all the scares he had experienced throughout the night.
でもよかった。あとは合図を待つだけだ。
He felt a wave of relief, but not at the thought of Aoko destroying the snark in this nightmarish park. He was simply happy that he could repay a bit of his debt from the House of Mirrors. A blue bullet rose from the plaza where Aoko was located.
合図だ。
Soujuurou stood up atop of the tracks, pulled out a pouch he had stowed in his pocket, and tossed it forward. Without any regard for his questionable footing, he gave it a mighty overarm pitch. The small pouch drew a parabolic curve in Aoko's direction, quickly becoming untied in midair. Inside the bag was the lock of her hair and a small stoneweight.
高いところから風に乗せてくれれば、あとは何とかするから。
Aoko had said, but it was Soujuurou's effort that had set the plan in motion. The tuft of hair remained airborne, drifting as if watching over its owner. Soujuurou's job was done. He remained concerned about the egg hovering over him, but there was nothing he could do about it. Soujuurou breathed a sigh of relief and leaned forward to watch the rest of the plan unfold. But then...
Mumu?
Moo? In the head corner of his eye, he thought he spotted something familiar approaching Aoko. Who that?
ルートセット。ディレクト1層2層予備に3層。魔力提供体現に固定。循環よし射角よし術式安定大まかよし。
fire began to carve itself into the brick street. Casting an unprecedented incantation with an unprecedented range. Keeping the right intention contained within her chest, the fledgling mage snapped her fingers.
決めた。ツアープランスターマイン。
She kneeled at the center of the formula and raised her head to the night sky. Not even a glimpse of the transmogrified fetish land around her entered her vision now. Only one thing, one untouchable thing was reflected in her blue eyes.
実はずっと気になっていたことが。
And this is how their conversation started a few minutes prior. Soujuurou began with a simple statement of fact. In truth, it really was the simplest of discrepancies. Between the reality of an hour ago and the illusion of the present, a difference both infinitesimal and infinite at the same time.
雲があったから勘違いしたんだろうけど。
It was something hiding in plain sight. Something both seemingly impossible in reality and unusual given its location. In this amusement park, where every paradigm has shifted, something was brazenly flaunting its normalcy.
今夜は新月なんだ、青崎。
思えば初めっからその形だったものね、あんたは。
The distance from the Earth to the Moon was 238,900 miles. If it truly was identical to the actual Moon, then this monster indeed lived up to its airy reputation. A distance that far would have meant that it had no need to hide its form. It could flaunt its true form in front of all. But due to the very fact that it was hiding its true form, it meant it must have been within reach. That monster's camouflage implied that it sat within the reach of a human hands.
こっちの最大射程はよくて600ってところだけど。
At this point, it was time to give it all she had. Driving on the energy surging throughout the park, she extended her firing arm. A blue firework launched into the air. Looking up at her hair dancing in the wind above, Aoko reached out her right hand as if to catch the night sky. A mage's own body made for the perfect catalyst. And for a female mage, the hair she had grown out every many years made for a particularly valuable and powerful source of fuel. To use it, all she had to do was apply her will. She locked the fingers in both her hands together and shouted.
三層展開全術式連結起動
She hurled forth a clear challenge to bind the moon to herself. The mist began to whirl about in a vortex. The monster hiked above bore its fangs at the sight of the blue spell that appeared in midair.
見抜かれたですって
By the time Alice had noticed the change, the hostility between Aoko and the snark was palpable.
そうなら青子の勝ちよすぐに戻りなさい確かに雨雲を消したのはヒントの上げすぎだけどそれぐらいは多めに見てスナーク
The fog continued to take in with no sign of abating. The moon that floated in the night sky could not pardon such an insolent mage. As if the Lord of the Night would bow down to such impudence. There was no staying its wrath at a challenge so flagrant.
スナーク
Triben swooped in to give its report, but Alice waved it away. Her gaze was fixed on the transforming golden moon. Her cause of restraint did not reach it. This fairy tale monster was beholden to nobody, and it would have no qualms unleashing its vast might upon its puny prey. The core of her magic bullet towered. The magic circuits within her body spun. Aoko fed a magical energy, scorching her nerves with imaginary flame. She was linked to the form lines scrapped on the ground. The spell was read and executed the same as it always was, but its output was beyond reckoning. But this much firepower, even this mundane process would invite injury upon its caster. It was enough to burn up the nerves that were acting as a barrel.
でもいける。
The imaginary heat had reached a terrifying temperature. Aoko trembled at this endless feeling, but would have to grin and bear it, at least their efforts come to naught. Aoko could no longer move. As she had learned the Snark's true form from Soujuurou, she gave up on any superiority a mobile turret offered, instead opting to become a stationary cannon. There was no way she could reach it. It was impossible to hunt the Snark unless she anchored her crest at this location and angle. At the same time, this action revealed that she was out of options. Once the fuse was lit, she would have no choice but to fight to the bitter end. Aoko took a deep breath. This was the way she wanted it. Her preparations were complete. She would be able to deliver this maelstrom of magical energy directly to the moon, like a rocket payload. The third layer floating in midair served as the cannon's monster on sight. It would fire the magical energy once it reached criticality, and it allowed Aoko to adjust the angle of fire.
キリ
The moon became marked within her scope. As Aoko charged her magical energy, the boy displayed its golden form, as if to mock her. Oh, it sucks. Oh, yin yang. Come, worship the heavens, powerless scion of an innocent bloodline. For there it was, a point among the otherworldly sky, a mystical visage, executed by jade mists and azure clouds. Got the greatest treasure known to the world of magecraft, a rarity more valuable than an entire kingdom. Crown Phantasm. Stand apart from the very beginning. The world's greatest fabrication.
まだ早いけど
Her instincts scream at her to delay no further. This fairy tale monster was the greatest of its kind, and its true form was about to be exposed. Its open hostility indicated that it was making preparations for a counterattack.
こっちはもう動けない。逃げを捨てての大栄翔。先に撃たれたらそこで終わりだ。
She had to shoot it down first. Magical energy was at 80%. The formula was operating normally. All that was left was to pull the trigger, but the calm voice inside her head asked if that was really okay. She had one shot at this, and there was no going back. It was a battle of precision with no room for miscalculations. Even a tenth of a second of hesitation would tip the scales. Was she ready for the pain? Was she ready to deal with the fallout if she missed? Could she really even take down the moon with such a tiny bullet in the first place?
いい。とりあえず当たった後で考える。
Her eyes fixed upon the moon were filled with determination. And an awareness at the moment she fired, the intense recoil would overwhelm her entire body. She shouted.
上等。出し惜しみはなし。 目いっぱいぶん回すわ。
With every ounce of spirit she possessed, she fired her ultra long-range projectile into the sky. The third layer embraced the magic bullet fired from the surface of the earth. The crest and extension of Aoko's self only tried to pierce the moon. However, an enormous blue canopy polarized the beam. It returned to Ether, the 3,000-degree flame, did not think as it came in contact with the bullet. The recoil of the Grand Magecraft literally boiled her blood. Her body couldn't handle it. Her heart stopped. Her brain went numb from the pain and impact. Her nerves putrefied from end to end. But her magic quest revived them all by force. Even though her vision had gone white, she could still see it. Swallowing the blood in her mouth, Aoko looked up at the scowl. There it was. An enormous shield of ice and the sneering, deformed skull.
撃つのが遅すぎた。それとも早すぎた。盾を作られる前に撃てばよかった。それとも正面からじゃ無謀すぎた。どっちでもいい。一層、二層、再起動。急いで。
There was no time to think or hesitate. The magical energy throughout the park began to gather. Aoko knelt across from the tyrannical face of the moon. Aoko intuited that the ice had yet to fully form. Flat Snark still hadn't reached his full strength, which was exactly why.
まずい、まずい、まずい、まずい。
By accelerating the spell, Aoko had damaged her own body. Aoko sat up and braced herself for the pain caused with the load placed in the formula after linking with the snark. All she could do was endure it. All because
あの氷、私のマックスよりもっと上だ。
Aoko had gotten a read on their relative strengths. Even if its volume of magical energy was identical, Sark's form is mystic. Was in a different league. Language. Even if Aoko charged her energy to her absolute limit, she would barely make a dent in the ice wall. Meaning, if the snark gathered as much energy as it could, there was nothing she could do to prevent their annihilation.
ならその前に。
She loaded her next shot. She issued orders to the floating third layer. Ignoring the toll on her body, she began to accelerate the first layer formula. The role of her right-hand single layer was to absorb and store Sronic magical energy. The tip of that drifted through the park was an ancient ether spewed out by a flat snark's own body. But Aoko could pour it into her formula. Aoko's body, which had integrated the formula, began an amount of magical energy that far surpassed its maximum capacity. It seethed in agony. Or rather, it trembled in delight. For a mage, magical energy was a propellant to reach the realm of mystics. The expansion of internal time. The liquefaction of the self. The release from the physical. What one might call a near-death experience. Aoko stood face to face with reality and the boundaries between it and such concepts. Don't have to play Halo Team while coming at her. And that reality was there to break her will. To any bystander, the gap between them would be plain to see. The gun barrel named Aoko Aozaki. She had no chance to chip away that lump of ice.
それが
She accelerated the skull further. The skull grind. That eyes was no shield. It was something to be used to crush mages who did not know their place. The moon laughed as it prepared to crush not just Aoko, but the boy atop the roller coaster, as well as the park in its entirety.
どうした
Her secrets were on the verge of going critical. Her body had been in charge of the scorching power supply from her fingertips to her eyeballs. She would see to it that the bullet fired. That the mage craft formula would be strengthened as quickly as her nerves transmission speed would allow. A single attack was not enough. There was no way to shoot it from its flank. Which meant there was only one solution.
セレクタオルタネイト
The third layer began to transform. It swifted from direct to alternating current. The spell's supposed strong point was its ability to adjust its trajectory mid-flight. Right now, all she wanted was numbers.
セットオクタグラム全階層ぶん回せ
A blue sun shined down upon the amusement park. Beams of light, the maximum output, streaked forth to pierce the golden moon. Holding down the trigger, she continued to fire, taking in energy ad infinitum. Blue flame shot forth at a critical level, but the eyes would neither melt nor mar. No amount of sheer heat could make a dent in something formed from such a colossal amount of magical energy. The tower of her secret sent them berserk, and blood began to run free.
これだけ回してるのにあいつの方が全然上
The battle had become a tussle over the magical energy that filled the park. From the very beginning, this had been the Snark's home turf. The Snark had control over at least 80% of the speeds, while Aoko had 20 at best. The castle of ice descended as if to call the match. All she could do was delay the inevitable. She realized she had been backed into a wall, and right now, the only thing she could do was to keep firing. Then again, perhaps not. There was another option. If she converted all her magical energy into a defense, there was a tiny chance. No, not tiny. A great possibility, in fact, that she could save just her.
うるさいここの魔力を使い切ればあの氷だって
Going into that broken home, Aoko continued to rotate her secrets. Time seemed to stop at a magical energy overdose. A second of intense pain lasted an eternity. Then, amidst everything, something approached one step at a time. Something from among the park's shadows. Something. She felt goosebumps from head to toe. The issue was no longer the ice overhead. In the midst of this stillness, the red dead drew closer, step by ominous step.
なんでこんなところで
Her circuits in her mind began to rupture out of terror. The composition of her formula and soul began to rip apart. There it was, just behind her. Its footsteps came to a halt. It reached around and uncupped her face in its blood-stained hands.
こんにちは
Hello. Nightmare? She wanted to scream out with all her might. This is it. Nothing matters. I couldn't care less. Run or don't run, it doesn't matter. Quit hiding and reveal yourself. Use whatever you can and show no mercy. That was it. She had one final card to play. A miracle that would treat that ice like nothing more than a toy, gifted to her as a mere amusement. That was what the Red Death had come to kill. Using it would spell ruin. And not using it would mean death by ice. But why would Aoko hesitate? There were no conditions limiting her. There would be no price to pay by employing it here. She simply would cease to be herself. That was all. Humans love to exist in areas of gray. Dozens of electrical impulses disconnect in the brain every minute. Nothing lasts forever, not even oneself. It was not anything particularly worthy of disdain. It was not anything remarkably worthy of being called taboo. What escaped her lips now was rage. Bewilderment from the red silhouette. The girl let out an inaudible scream. Could true magic truly be her savior? What an opportunistic load of bullshit! They're all to begin with. Indeed, Aoko was still in the dark when it came to that magic, whatever it was. Battle is over.
バカか私
She woke from her momentarily hallucination. The very illusion her breaking soul had shown her. Mining had the opposite effect on her. Her pride was now ablaze.
逃げるのか
Soujuurou was right. Her opponent had put her in check, but she had done disintegrate. It was clear why she was losing. So now all she needed was a counter plan. Well within her abilities. No matter what the odds, she was not one to give up without giving it one last shot.
そうだ放り出すのはやれることを全部やってから
Her numb fingers clenched into a tight fist. She was betting against the house, an unreasonable gamble that should have made her question her sanity. If the first step was off by an inch, her body would be instantly vaporized. But she knew a boy who never fled. She knew of a steadfast courage that could shine its light, no matter how small, through any desperate situation. Yes, there was more than just herself to be concerned about. If that ice fell, it would mean the destruction of the park in its entirety. Everything he had achieved, everything he had risked and dared and happily put his life on the line for, would be all for naught.
本当。それじゃあ何のために意地を張ったかわからない。
Determination and confidence surged through her like electricity. She was in no mood to be crushed by a giant sheet of ice. If she was going to lose, she would rather do so with the greatest firework possible. Aoko was a sore loser. At this point, she would rather burn herself to cinders than let it decide her end.
チェンジチェンジチェンジ
She grunted in pain. Energy reached through her body. Her circles were on the verge of disintegration. Inscribed upon her body, her magic grasp was niche, craft given physical form. It did not, however, stop with simply skin and flesh. It tore out to the very marrow of her bones. A playful smile graced her lips. Her sense of reason had been turned upside down by the pain. That was only natural.
なんだやればできるじゃない私
She had to raise her own body for holding out so long while pushed beyond its limits. The school face noticed that abnormality. It finally recognized the challenge for dominance over the space. It laughed at the conceit it faced. Never did expect a magician to challenge a great-fledged Snark, lord of vessels over a millennium, and in such an age of decline. She tried to catch her breath. She braced herself for the coming pain. She was going to smash that ice to pieces. Both had access to the same amount of magical energy. One of them was greatly attached, but
出力装置に差があった。魔力の吸引、方針の規模で負けているのなら単純な話、私をでかくするだけでいい。チェンジツアープラン
the feedback would go beyond anything she had experienced to date. Quite simply, her decision went beyond recklessness. She expanded both formula to maximum size. The first layer would transform into a giant vortex, swallowing up the mist. The second layer would process it from one end and pump it into her, the barrel.
私の想定が甘かった。撃ち落とすなんて半端もいいとこ。この場合、跡形もなく打ち砕くった。
Primeval but denser energy responded in concert with their conviction. It formed the pattern of a breathing serpent. Wasteless magical power flying the banner of revolution. She beckoned the great power of all to feast its eyes upon the land. For it was the first of the trailblazers. The representative of mankind that knew no fear and would turn all manner of mythic and mystic to naught.
貸し借りはここまでよ、嘘つきブーチャム。お望み通り、のしをつけて返してあげる。
But the newest magician commanded the principles of consumption and extinction. A barrel full of the whoa! Why it melted through the ice of castle of ice. The air barrel was tempered. Her control of magical energy was divine. Her range totaling 62,000 miles in length, or 2.5 times the circumference of the equator, and similar to full magical energy with avarice. The subsequent magic bullets swiftly flew straight into the moon. No, 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 no! That rose to the surface of the moon. A cry of terror, of indignation, echoed through the abandoned park. Reality was burned into the eyes of this creature of fantasy. As Aoko looked upon its vain attempt to struggle, she knew she had tasted victory. Victory despite her absolute reckless use of magical energy. Energy scales had been tipped at their breaking point, but nevertheless in their favor.
ツアープランブラックライトスターボー一気にぶち抜け
Chatter, 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 chatter. The skyscraper scattered into atomized dust. Island, its unattainability extolled, had swallowed both the despair of its many challengers. And that which remained of its once proud thing that boasted of its untouched knowledge? I sure missed bemoaned its demise. The ice canopy in the sky crumbled. The sarcastic bullet jumped over the moon. It rose a dead sound like the roaring sea, reverberating across this fairy tale land. I wish I could be more insightful, but holy crap! It was so nice to see all of this again. Like you wouldn't believe it. The battle was over. The thick fog dissipated and the shattered ice melted away before it hit the ground. A little bullet had topped the Night King along with his throne, affording him no time to grieve his loss. Dial of the moon. The untouched flat snark. The dreamscape that had begun with its resurrection ended with its demise, drawing close to its nightmare. Holy shit.
うわ、さすがに無茶だ。
One unfortunate balloon, though. Okay, not an appropriate time to end. We're probably nearing the end of the chapter, but this episode went on for a little bit too long, so I gotta hit it here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in another one real soon. And subscribe, it's free. Thank you.